This is speed. This is winning. This is losing. This is NASCAR in Las Vegas, the South Point 400, a NASCAR playoff race, October 10th through 12th. Get your tickets now.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or, if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south of the border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the book, South Point Studio.
We don't make stuff up here.
I would only play the Pirates team total going under.
What the hell happened to Minnesota's pitching? This total has really crashed without plumbing the lineup.
I think this number's too high, but they're laying me the 6.
Oh, I know.
Caitlin Clark drives handle on the WNBA.
Never mind all these Mickey Mouse other stations. We are giving you hands-on information.
It's Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. Here's Jeff Parles and Alex.
Good morning. Welcome in. It is Sports by the Book here at the South Point Studio. Jeff Parles, Alex White. Good day here today. College football back with a vengeance. Here for week one. Both rubbing our palms, ready to go. We're going to have Bruce Marshall join us in a few minutes. CBS Sports Line and, of course, professional handicapper as well joins us in a few moments. But, Alex, we have one baseball game that kicks off in 4 minutes in Baltimore as the Red Sox are going for the sweep of the Orioles. Drama last night. Rafaela with a 2-run homer in the ninth to give Boston the lead. And then Aroldis Chapman, who is not allowed a hit in 41 batters, shut it down yet again. Amazing what Chapman has done. The Red Sox continue to win and hold on to that first wild card. Today, the ace, Crochet against Povich. Alex, this has moved from -165 to -200 on Boston. That total also has bounced around, even though it stayed at 8 the whole way.
The red-hot Red Sox, right? I guess the only way to play it is to stick it with the team that's on a 3-game winning streak with their ace on the mound, Crochet. He's been great in his last 5 starts, gave up more than 2 just once, and he's coming off back-to-back 7 innings pitched, 1 earned run. So that's the only way I would play it. I don't love it, though, at this price. I think you missed the best number. You wanted to dabble a little bit on that run line. I couldn't blame you. Got a little too cute yesterday. Red Sox team total over. Should have just stuck with the team that's feeling good, playing good right now.
Well, you got a home run on the first batter of the game because Roman Anthony continues to just take the league by storm. But that was it until the 9th, and then Rafaela bailed him out last night with the victory for the Boston Red Sox. All right, let's bring him in. Bruce Marshall on the desk with us. Mark Stoops, get you on the payroll today, Bruce?
I reached for the first clean shirt.
Oh, okay.
In the club, so that's what I pulled out today.
You know what? I completely understand that.
Yeah.
Completely understand that. So, Bruce, let's dive in. It's good to have college football back, and we got a really interesting card here today. Alex and I will go through it as well a little bit later in the program. But let's just start with the first game of the day, and what is really just a bizarro scheduling spot for the second consecutive year for Boise. Remember last year they went down to Georgia Southern. They played a ridiculously high-scoring game. Genty had an absurd game to kick off the year. They won by 2 touchdowns, but needed over 50 points in order to get the 2-touchdown win. Now they go to Tampa. Similar weird spot, going down into absolutely ridiculous, humid, rainy potential conditions, and also smart of South Florida to play along with ESPN here tonight and get this game at 5:30.
Yeah.
Which will lead to even muggier conditions than you would normally see than at an 8 o'clock game. The bettors are all over the Bulls. Brewster's open at 9.5. It's sub 6 this morning now. It's 5.5, and that total's been banged down as well, which I find interesting, to 62.
Well, a 5:30 kickoff in Tampa on August 28th, I'd say there's a 50-50 chance we're going to have a weather delay tonight.
Very possible.
Thunder and lightning. So we'll see. Let me tell you what, I totally agree with this move. And yeah, I'd rather have had 9. I should have bet this game, 3 weeks ago instead of waiting till now, but I would still bet it tonight. I've talked with some people about Boise. The last quarter century. I know everything about Boise, and the party line is, well, they won before Ashton Genty. They will continue to win. They've been winning for a quarter century. Yes, but drill a little bit deeper. This thing had started to unravel a bit for Boise 2 years ago, and they were sitting beneath 500 past midseason when they pulled the plug on Andy Avalos, and that's when they promoted Spencer Danielson. They closed fast. They ended up beating UNLV to win the Mountain West title game, and then last year was the big year. But Genty was such a force. This is a guy who could not be tackled. He distorted games, not just for the offense and the stats he put up, but they jumped out to so many leads. The defense could pin its ears back because the opponents were throwing the ball on every down. So you saw some really big sack numbers and things like that for the Boise defense. I think this is going to be a tough game. South Florida expects to win this game. They're not looking at themselves as an underdog. They've got Byron Brown back at quarterback. He missed most of last year. He was dynamic 2 years ago in his first year as a starter. And this is Alex Golish's masterpiece, I think. He believes this program is ready to take a jump. This is the game where they can do it. The conditions you mentioned there, I think, work in South Florida's favor. I'm all over the Bulls. I wouldn't even mind going on a money line player in South Florida, but I think I'll just stick to if we get 6, that's great. Even 5.5, I'd still do it.
This is the first 3 weeks for Alex Golish, and I got to give him credit.
Oh, yeah.
This is the game you got to win it, or you probably start 0-3 because they go to Gainesville and then they go to Miami the next 2 weeks. You kind of feel like, all right, well, got to get this one in the market again, as we said. Loves South Florida here tonight, Alex.
The next game up, it's interesting, right? These two don't like each other, and we just saw them play in the bowl game with East Carolina and NC State, and East Carolina got the win there. Now, looks like the bettors do like NC State too, 13.5 up to 14 now here at the South Point. And the total, 62. I didn't find anything I loved in this one. What about you?
Well, I find this one a little bit tough, Alex, and this might be the most fun game to watch tonight because even though that game was only 26-21 in the bowl game in Annapolis last year, I like the offenses both ways here. NC State's quarterback, very dynamic. And actually, East Carolina last year, when they made the coaching switch, and this is sort of like Boise 2 years ago, this was the American version of it, when they promoted Harrell after they moved out Mike Houston, man, they started to play. Hauser, their quarterback, is back. But I like one move that East Carolina made in the offseason here. They picked up Mike Wright out of the portal. Mike Wright's the same guy who won games as an SEC starter at Vanderbilt a couple of years ago, was misused at Mississippi State 2 years ago, was misused at Northwestern last year. He's a perfect change of pace quarterback. I kind of lean to East Carolina a little bit here. Coach Dorn's under a little bit of pressure at NC State. They'll be happy to get out of here with a win. Even though that game only went 26-21 last December in Annapolis, I think these teams might get over 60.5 tonight if the weather conditions aren't too bad. So I might look a little bit over, a little bit to the Pirates tonight.
Getting 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, it feels pretty good getting 2 touchdowns. Like you said, Doran, I'm not a huge fan of him. They've never taken that next step.
Right.
They've been stuck in that 5-7 to 8-4 range. They've never quite have gotten.
He's been there a
past
long
that.
time too.
Oh, did
13th season, right?
Yeah, it's crazy that he's been there that long. All right, I want to go to another guy whose seat may be a little bit hot. Let's go to Madison.
Yeah.
Wisconsin has an absolutely brutal schedule this year, but this is one of the games you obviously got to get tonight. They take on Miami of Ohio, and, you know, Alex and I were kind of talking about this before the show, where in this new age of the transfer portal where the MAC schools usually just get clocked in the portal, it's tough to bet on them against these Power 4 teams early in the season. We know Chuck Martin is a really good coach. We've seen him beat Power 4 teams in the past. It's a big number on a Wisconsin team that is starting Billy Edwards, who comes over from Maryland. 18 tonight here, Bruce, with a total that's pretty low for an 18-point line of 41.
Jeff, Alex, I think this number's too high.
Yeah.
And let me give you touched on some of these things about Coach Fickell. Yeah, he's under some pressure there because they haven't done anything since he got there. More than that, they have lost their identity. They used to be at Smash Mouth stuff, back to Barry Alvarez, back to Bielema, back to Paul Christ, and they lost that the last couple of years. They're down in the middle of the nation in rushing stats, and Fickell supposedly wants to get back to some of that this year. He's got a new offensive coordinator, Jeff Grimes, wants to establish the ground game. Billy Edwards coming in at quarterback, mobile. Let's remember, though, Edwards at Maryland last year, kids, they won one Big Ten game with him at quarterback, one. So I'm not sure he's the answer for them. And oh, by the way, Fickell, going back to late in his Cincinnati tenure, 13-24 against the line his last 37. That is not go with stuff. Now, I have talked to people looking at Miami, Ohio, and they are over-analyzing this to death because they say, oh, look, no new returning starters, new offensive line. No, I said, look, here's where you have to drill a bit on the returning starters thing. That is a very deceiving stat because a lot of rotation pieces just move up into the first string. A lot of these guys played last year. Right. Plus, they've got portal ads. And, portal ads? Look who's at quarterback for Miami O this year. Dequan Finn. Now, the last time we saw him in the MAC, he was the player of the year 2 years ago at Toledo. He's dynamic. He's fast. It didn't go well at Baylor because he hurt. He had a bad rib injury the Utah game. Second game of the season, he was the starter. He's out. Robertson came in, and Miranda stuck with Robertson. This is Finn's 7th year. He's dynamic. I'm going to take Miami O plus the points.
With him at quarterback, you are right. You make a great point there.
He was amazing at Toledo. And again, you just mentioned it, Robertson, who might be the best quarterback in the Big 12 going into the year as well. You know what? Let's go to Friday. Okay. And let's bring up Alex's alma mater here, who Alex had a tough go of it, but at least got the win last weekend.
Yes, they did. And, you know, UNLV, he's talking about, did play a lot of players on defense, kind of moving around, used it like a scrimmage, but we'll see how they do here in this one. We got to see both of these teams in week 0, which is kind of rare. Talking about Wisconsin, didn't work out with Phil Longo there as the OC. Now he's head coach of Sam Houston, going to take some time. I had the points with them against Western Kentucky yesterday. What I really took away from that is Western Kentucky's really good.
Yes,
offense and defense. But here they are. Bettors like the points here with them against UNLV and them traveling for their second game. Do you like anything in this one?
I like the Bearcats here, and everything you say is true. Last week, and you know, they darn near got that point spread decision could have changed right at the end of the game last week.
Yes, it could have been a push at least.
But I think you're right. I think Western Kentucky's really good, and I love Tyson Helton. And Longo's got this very progressive attack that didn't work too well at Wisconsin for him. It did at North Carolina. He was Drake May's offensive coordinator when he made that breakthrough a couple of years ago. Watson, the quarterback, didn't look all that bad last week. But I think this is more about UNLV. I've got questions. I've got questions about this Dan Mullen hire all the way to the downtown Las Vegas and back here to the Strip. Listen, this is different than Barry Odom. Barry Odom was all football all the time. I just talked to him at Big Ten Media Days last month, and I've talked to him before. He's different. Dan Mullen is enjoying this a little bit too much at UNLV. He hadn't coached for 4 years, and I am firmly of the opinion that UNLV made this hire hoping to get a buyout that would effectively pay for his contract within 2 years. Just like what happened with Barry Odom. They got a $3 million windfall from Purdue. They've slapped, I think, a $7 million buyout on Mullen. This only works for UNLV if Mullen gets hired somewhere else. They're not going to be able to pay him beyond a couple of years. And oh, by the way, last week, a mid-rung Big Sky team gains over 550 yards against you. This ain't the same team as last year. I will say this, Colin Drea looked good at quarterback, and a lot of people thought it was going to be Orji.
Yeah.
I think Colin Drea looks like the guy. Now, I think Coach Mullen probably uses them both this week, but this is not the same UNLV as last year. No way. It's not the same players, not the same team. They're going to have trouble winning this game.
So even with this down from, they opened 13.5, we're down to 10. There's a lot of 9.5. Obviously you want to, if you're hopping in now, it's get the 10 or wait it out basically at this point.
But if you get 10, obviously that's better than 9.5, but I wouldn't let that shy away. One thing about these early games, these numbers have been up so long.
Oh yeah.
You're going to see a lot more movement in these early numbers. So this is where it should have been at the start. And we have a game to look at for both these teams too. Right. So there's another thing.
I will just add in too, to your point, I've heard some whisperings too that, it hasn't been quite as buttoned up. And while Dan Mullen's trying not to be a micromanager, he doesn't really know what's going on all around. So even the travel details going here have been a little shaky, where in the past with Barry Odom, everything was tight on schedule. So that makes me a little bit nervous about this first road trip.
I agree with you, Alex. I think this could be a very tough game. And it might be a good one to watch, though. I could see both these offenses. Look, Jet Thomas is a real running back. Yes. And if Colin Drea, we saw more mobility from him last week than I thought. So maybe this UNLV offense will be good. That defense, though, I don't know.
Let's keep it with Mountain West. And let's go to Logan, Utah State. Bronco Mendenhall back in the state of Utah after 1 year down in New Mexico, after a few years off after that tenure in Virginia. The Aggies play UTEP. There are a few people who I know like this UTEP team coming into the year. The market in this game does not, from 4 to 6 on this one, and the total's gone up a 1.5 from 59.5 to 61, Bruce.
Jeff, this is one I actually played early. I was smart enough here to actually do this one early because I thought the line might move up. Quickly on UTEP. They've got a season win total at 5.5, which I think is very aggressive for UTEP. Now, part of that is because CUSA is welcoming in 2 teams coming up this year from the FCS. Mm-hmm. They've got UD and Mizzou State. They're both on the schedule this year for UTEP. That might have something to do with it. And also Malachi Nelson. You might remember hearing of him at USC, Gatorade Player of the Year, didn't work out at USC, couldn't get in the field, went to Boise last year, couldn't get on the field. Now he's at UTEP. So when does UTEP get a 5-star quarterback like that? Never. So that's some of the excitement for UTEP. But Scotty Walden in his second year, they didn't put much together at all last year. Typical UTEP, 3-9, a couple close wins over bad teams. The UTAGs are going to be the surprise team in the Mountain West this year because of Bronco. And as last season progressed and all the distractions they had, moving out Blake Anderson before the year, promoting Dreiling, it was a tough start. Utah State started to play better. You look at the national stats last year, they ended up 6th nationally in total offense. Bryson Barnes, the quarterback, played some last year before he got hurt. He looked good. He had been at Utah before that. He has a win over Caleb Williams on his resume from his time at Utah. And Bronco last year, New Mexico immediately improved with him there. He's a winner. And I think the momentum, this offense is going to move. And Barnes is going to be a difference maker. And I need, proof of concept here with UTEP. Let's see what happens. I'm not bullish yet on the Miners. I'm going to lay the points with Utah State.
I like it. Let's go to a big one that I'm very interested in. Clemson last year, 0-2 against the SEC. Of course, we all remember the Georgia game. And then finished the season with a tough loss against South Carolina. Well, they get a chance to start off the year here. They're hosting LSU. A lot of expectations for Clemson, which I do agree with. I do like Cade Klubnik a lot under center. 3.5-point favorites now. That's a bad number there with the hook. LSU getting 3.5, total 57.5.
Yeah, that hook, that might get me interested in LSU, though I will take the Tigers here. Well, they both are Tigers, so you can't go wrong with that. Yeah, this is really, really an interesting game. LSU hasn't won an opener in, 6 years? Brian Kelly 0-3 in opener, so he has started off kind of slow. Here's my question about, and both these quarterbacks, and Nussmeier's getting Heisman mention too, and so is Klubnik for good reason. Listen, I think Clemson probably be in the playoff, and who knows, by the end of the year, they might be something. I think there's a little bit too much buzz with Clemson. I'll tell you why. I don't know that they are a great team. Very good. But let's not forget, they were 0-3 against the SEC last year. And in 2 of those games, they were rather outclassed. I know one was in the opener against Georgia. The defense, they've brought in Mr. Intensity, Tom Allen from Penn State, used to be Indiana's head coach. Jeff remembers him from there. And this guy is so polar opposite from Dabo. I mean, you can't believe it. But, I mean, he's good. But that defense wasn't that great last year. Let's see LSU come in here. I like Nussmeier a lot. I think he's steady. He distributes the ball. He throws in progression. He can get the ball downfield. Up front, the blocking sometimes for Nussmeier last year in the line is a little bit of a question for Brian Kelly. And I do shows in Baton Rouge, and that's what they're concerned about a bit. But this is a very big game for Brian Kelly. And let's proof of concept here with Clemson. I also think 9.5 wins, they lose this game. You know, they got that. They bookend the season, the other SEC team, South Carolina, in the Palmetto State game. They also got to go to Georgia Tech. They got to go to Louisville. They got to go to North Carolina. Got to go to Boston College. They lose this game, they're not getting over 9.5 either. So I'm going to take LSU. You know, the battle of the Death Valleys, too.
Brian Kelly already chirped Clemson on it being Death Valley Junior, which I don't know if I love that idea
maybe not.
Going into that game. You know, you mentioned both the quarterbacks. This is a matchup where there's a legitimate argument that these are the two best guys in the country at the quarterback position entering the year. I know Arch Manning is the betting favorite for the Heisman, but we only have a very small sample size on Arch. And you know what, Bruce? We'll go there next real quick with Texas and Ohio State. I don't know if you have a play, and Alex and I were really talking about this earlier, where this is a really hard game for week one, where you have Texas, who's ranked number one in the country by the AP poll for the first time ever going into a season, which stunned me. And you have the defending champs, and everyone's betting against the defending champs at home here, where this has moved from 3 to 1.5. Total's gone down 2.5 points as well. And one other note, unseasonably chilly. It's going to be low 70s a kick at noon in Columbus on Saturday, which obviously for late August is almost unheard of in that part of the country.
I was going to ask you guys who you liked in this game, because I'm just up against the wall in this one. It is so tough.
It's very tough.
The edges are very slim here. You've got both quarterbacks. I mean, we've seen just a little bit of Arch, and I think, and I saw him down in Atlanta at SEC Media Days, and boy, everybody's around him talking about the Heisman. I've never seen Heisman hype for a guy who's taken just a handful of snaps like Arch. Maybe he's that good. They think there's more upside with him than yours. Saying the other way, they like him a lot at Ohio State. They think he's going to be the next great one, but experience doesn't have any. So that makes this thing pretty darn tough, and there's a lot of changes going on personnel-wise both ways here. So I am flummoxed by this game here. 1 versus 3, it's a rematch of the Cotton Bowl, but they're different teams both ways. Maybe Jeremiah Smith is the big play element here if Sane can do it, but we haven't seen him yet. So it's a big pass for me in this game. I hate to do that on a high-profile game like this, but I'll go with whatever you guys think.
No, well, we've been saying that too, and we said, this is the most let's watch and see, and really take in and learn about both of these teams moving forward.
I agree. We're going to know a lot more about them both, and they'll probably both be in the playoff, and we may see this again in late December, January, but we'll see.
1.5, again, Ohio State right now down from 3. All right, let's go to the Rose Bowl, a game that's actually been brought up a lot on this show over the last 2 weeks. The old it's in the old Pac-12 After Dark slot.
Yes.
With Utah in the Big 12 and UCLA in the Big 10, of course. Bruce, it took a wayward route to get back to the opening number of 5. Opened 5, got bet up to 6.5. And over the last week, it has come back down to the opener of 5. Utah laying it at the Rose Bowl. Total is 52 in this game. Both teams with new quarterbacks. Devin Dampierre comes up to Utah from New Mexico. Obviously, Nico Amaliava had a wild offseason, to put it very politely. Goes from Tennessee to UCLA here.
Yeah. The party line, and I get this with Utah. They've had quarterback issues the last couple of years, and it was much to do with Cam Rising not staying healthy, and they had to rotate guys in and out, and that has really been. And we talked about Bryson Barnes a minute ago. He was in there some 2 years ago, and Kyle Whittingham usually puts this stuff together, and we know he's an excellent coach. So Dampierre, if he's as dynamic as he was at New Mexico, he also rushed for over 1,000 yards last year in Broncos offense. That should make a difference for Utah. But I saw something with UCLA last year and in Deshaun Foster that I really like. And there was a time last year when I thought this was the worst UCLA team of my lifetime that I remember. And I go back to the early 60s, knowing UCLA football. But they turned that thing around last year. They had a game. If you were fortunate enough to get 4.5 or 5 in that Minnesota game last year, UCLA had 7 straight covers if you got the cover in that Minnesota game. They started playing tough in the middle of last year. They did not give up for Deshaun. The offense was a little bit rickety, but that defense was very salty, and they kept playing hard. I really like Deshaun Foster. Let's not forget, they think the offense, not just Nico coming in, they like Sinceri coming in from Indiana as the new coordinator offensively. I have heard Nico has looked really good in practice. Now that, take that with a grain of salt sometimes, what you hear in the practice field. But he's coming home. He's from Long Beach Poly High School, so this is sort of a homecoming for him. And whatever happened with that nil stuff at Tennessee, that's all behind now. But there is one other thing. I think the bigger point here about UCLA is they are playing the nil game now. We saw that in basketball. They got the point guard from New Mexico coming in, and that was a worry a couple of years ago because UCLA's booster class there wasn't really up to speed. They are now, and there's portal ads all over, and that they have spent nil money at UCLA. I'm going to take the Bruins here. I think they got a shot to win this game. I think Deshaun might have something going, and there were some problems. It wasn't all just quarterback last year for Utah. That team sort of fell apart late in the season. That's rare for Kyle Whittingham. I'm going to give UCLA a look.
Bruce, I'm with you, and you brought up a few really good points in there. And one is Deshaun Foster started off the year terrible at Big Ten media, right? And he just wasn't good and didn't know how to present himself yet in that light. And there were a lot of positives that we saw from them last year, and I just think it's too many points. I do think Utah will progress and get better throughout the season, right? And we know that they do have a tough and good defense.
Deshaun warmed up a lot at this Big Ten Media Day, which, by the way, I don't think they're coming back here, but when I talked to him, I saw you play in high school, Deshaun. He became like, wow, he really was cool after that.
And then remember all the hype around Nico last year at Tennessee, and now they land him. So it could be a big difference maker.
Chris Andrews mentioned a team that he's looking to see improve a ton. And you know what? Again, I don't love UCLA's schedule. They have a tough road game here in Vegas next week also.
Yes.
But again, if they can pull an upset here in week one, whole vibe of the season changes for sure. All right, Bruce, one last one. Another, see, you know what? At least they're giving us these Pac-12 after dark matchups here in week one, even with the Pac-12 obviously taking one more year before coming back into the real scene. And we get Oregon State and Cal. Cal starting a true freshman at quarterback. Malik Murphy now the multi-time transfer going to be starting for Oregon State. Beavers are only one in this game, 49.5. Interested to hear your thoughts on this one. This is one of the harder ones on the board.
Yeah, Jeff, that's moved down a little bit too. I mean, I like this a little bit more at 3. Now, Cal, I know there's been stuff going on there, and don't make me try and pronounce the freshman quarterback's name from Honolulu. Saga Potulele, I think is how we say the last name. They love him, though. He's a lefty. And, like Tua and some others who come from Hawaii, they think he can do the deal. And I was back in Charlotte. I was talking to Justin Wilcox at ACC Media Days, and they really like Devin Brown a lot. I talked to Brown there in Charlotte. The Ohio State transfer, they thought he was going to be the quarterback. This kid beat him out legitimately in fall practice. Now, I realize what's happened at Cal. They had a mass exodus after spring practice out of the portal. They brought in Brian Harsin, the ex-Boise coach and Auburn coach who worked with Wilcox earlier in his career. He's now the offensive coordinator. But I'll tell you what, I like Wilcox a lot. And this program was hurt more than any in the country by COVID a few years ago. They've had a little bit of trouble getting back, but they usually punch above their weight. This team could have been 9-3 last year. And I know they have Mendoza at quarterback, but I think they're good. They also beat Oregon State 44-7. Let's see Malik Murphy. It didn't take them long to make a switch at Duke to bring Mensah in. It was like, that looked like a corporate takeover sort of thing. Okay, you're out. We're going to bring in the new kid from Tulane. So maybe he's going to be an upgrade at quarterback. Oregon State needed it. But I didn't like the way the Beavers finished last year. And I think this whole thing being in limbo for 2 years for Oregon State sort of hurts them a bit. I would take Cal, but I wish the number was still at 3.
Down to 1 here at the South Point. You can still get a 1.5 on the Golden Bears. And again, multiple Pac-12 after dark games. Hey, look, Oregon State's still in the Pac-2 for the time being, and it'll be the Pac-12 again starting next year. Cal, of course, as geography does not matter anymore in the ACC, along with Stanford, as we know. All right, Bruce, any other game this week that may not make your card that you are going to watch as from a betting perspective, something that we could be looking for weeks going forward, or even some sort of in-game angle potentially?
Jeff and Alex, this game tonight in Kansas City, actually, at Arrowhead. Nebraska, Cincinnati. I guess Cincinnati is technically the home team, but it's going to be a Nebraska
home game
for sure. Yeah. I'm really interested here because Nebraska, there's a lot of buzz about Nebraska coming up this year. And I'm not quite buying it yet. I mean, they let UCLA come in there and beat them in Lincoln last year. And Raiola, you see him make some good plays, but he also makes some bad plays. And his ratio of big plays to bad plays is not as good as it should be. Only 13 TD passes, 11 picks last year. This offense was a little bit pedestrian. Let's see if they pick it up some. Speaking about picking it up, Scott Satterfield has got to start showing something pretty soon at Cincinnati. And Sorsby, the ex-Indiana quarterback, new receivers coming in. This looks to me like it could be sort of a defensive game tonight. The total, what we got, 51.5, 52?
51.5, yeah, here.
A little too high, I think. I might be looking under, but I'm kind of curious on both of these sides because I'm skeptical on Nebraska and I'm worried about Cincinnati just not making any progress. But I think short term here, the fact both offenses I've got questions about, and the defenses are pretty good both ways. I think under maybe tonight.
A little potential under for Nebraska and Cincinnati again at Arrowhead. They still got to work out that end zone for Nebraska. They just put the spray paint on it. I don't know if you saw that. It looked like I did it. That's how poor it looked. But I'm sure they'll get that ready here today. Bruce Marshall, everyone. He'll be joining us every Thursday throughout football season. Bruce, looking forward to it. I know you and Alex are going to be battling in the RJ yet again.
Yeah, I guess we are.
In the college football season picks. So good luck. And
2.
1 and 2 last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's right.
Yeah. So
that's right.
Bruce, it's always a pleasure. We'll see you again next Thursday.
Look forward to it, guys.
Yeah, us too.
Absolutely. CBS Sports Line also for all Bruce's work. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we will look at the games tonight in college football, FBS versus FBS, and also, of course, the baseball card as well when we get back. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
This is speed. This is winning. This is losing. This is smoke and fire. This is high stakes and wild cards. This is family and tradition. This is everything on the line. This is it. This is NASCAR in Las Vegas. The South Point 400, a NASCAR playoff race, October 10th through 12th. Get your tickets now, lvms.com.
Football contest sign-up season is here, and you don't want to miss out on the action. With millions of dollars on the line each and every week in the world's biggest football contest, there's only one proxy to trust, footballcontest.com. Maddie and Tony have set the gold standard for football contest proxy services with 20 years of experience and over $13 million in winnings for their clients. All you have to do is get to Vegas between now and the start of football season to sign up in person, and they do the rest, making sure your picks are entered every week. Whether you want to play in the Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, Super Contest Gold, or the new Super Contest College Contest, Maddie and Tony have you covered. Their new website has everything you need to know about these football contests and more, including how you can reserve the best proxy in the business. Experience matters, so go with the pros at footballcontest.com, the gold standard proxy service.
Sports by the Book.
Sports by the Book.
Sports by the Book. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
We don't make stuff up here.
I would only play the Pirates team total going under.
What the hell happened to Minnesota's pitching?
This total has really crashed without plumbing the lineup.
I think this number's too high, but they're laying me the 6.
Oh, I know.
Caitlin Clark drives handle on the WNBA.
Never mind all these Mickey Mouse other stations. We are giving you hands-on information.
Welcome back in at Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. Big thanks to our guy, Bruce Marshall, who we'll see every Thursday here on the show, College Football. We didn't have time to ask him about EPL soccer. We'll make sure to get that in next week.
I was going to ask him about Belichick on Monday, but probably better. I left that one out too.
Well, we will be here on Labor Day. We'll have a normal show. We'll give our thoughts on North Carolina and TCU. We'll also give our thoughts on North Carolina and TCU tomorrow at noon because Football Frenzy on a Friday is back yet again. Myself, Alex White, Vinny Magliulo, Chris Andrews will be here tomorrow at noon. Of course, we'll have 2 shows every Friday moving forward, 10 a.m. and noon right here on the channel. All right, let's go to tonight in college football. Let's begin in Raleigh. This is an underratedly fun matchup because these 2 schools do not like each other. ECU and NC State. NC State tonight is 2 touchdowns against ECU where, Alex, I think this is too many points personally with these 2 teams. Now, remember ECU had a bizarro last 2 years because of coaching change midstream last year. Yep. Blake Harrell takes over. They play great under him. They give him the permanent job. That always worries me a little bit, especially in college where they react to what they saw, don't really do a real search and just promote the guy because he had a good 6 games. That concerns me a little bit, but this NC State team looks just super average for me where they'll probably go to a bowl, probably go 6-6, may go 7-5, but as we said with Bruce, they've been stuck in that average purgatory where they're never bottoming out, but they're never pushing for an ACC championship game, and that's kind of the expectation yet again in Raleigh. I'll very happily take 14 with ECU. Not a ton tonight on the card I love. This is one up there among my favorites here tonight.
It's close for me. I've got a 12.5 here for NC State, so about a 1.5 difference, and it's a key number. And we were kind of talking about that with Chris Andrews, where the first few weeks, you got to put a little more emphasis on those key numbers, right? But I really didn't do anything here. Missed the best of the number. I think Bruce was saying it could be a fun game. Look to the over, and it definitely has been bet up that way, so it was a lean for me, but I'm not going to jump in now at 62. I think that's a bad number. But CJ Bailey, second year now for NC State at quarterback, did pretty good last year, finished with a 65% passing completion, and then they bring back Hollywood Smothers, who is really good on the ground. So I imagine they can definitely both move the ball.
The only concern, Alex, that I will say, and this is usually your angle, not mine, these 2 teams played in the bowl game last year, and East Carolina won. Usually, you're the one who brings up revenge.
I've been trying really hard not to.
But yes, that is again. This is teams have played a ton through the years, just
and there was
geographically.
A brawl after that.
Oh yes, it was. It left the umpire bloodied in the face in that one. But yeah, I think just 14 is too much. Rarity too. Both quarterbacks from last year back as well. You just don't see that very often in a week 1 matchup at this point with both ECU and NC State. It was 26-21 in that one, and Hauser back as well for the Pirates. All right, let's go to the game we mentioned in Bruce. And Bruce likes the Bulls, even at the worst of the number here, against the Boise State Broncos. This is just a bizarre spot for Boise State. Second straight year they've done this where they go down to the southeast and play in these awfully humid conditions that are complete opposite of what they get up in Boise. Big difference, obviously, this year. Mrs. Genty's here in Vegas with the Raiders as opposed to wearing blue and orange. The market is just all over South Florida, from 9.5 to 5.5, total 62. I just can't do it with taking what is the worst of the number. And now we are through before we get to the 4th and 3s, the last of the key numbers around the touchdown. I just can't bring myself to do it at this point. Even though if you told me South Florida wins this game, I would not be shocked one bit. It's a stay up just because, again, it's in my brain. I can't justify betting this number now south of 6.
I'm with you, Jeff. I would be there with the 7, Florida State keeping it close and within a 1 score, but I can't get there now. And I just think there's too much on the line for Boise, and they know that. And, they were in the playoffs just a year ago. They know that spot is still open for a group of 5. They bring their quarterback back, which I don't think is talked about enough, but Maddox Madsen is awesome. He had 3 interceptions the entire year last year. Of course, they had Genty to run the ball as well, but still, he threw it. He had 3,000 passing yards, so he threw it enough. And he had 3 interceptions against Penn State, so he kind of matched it in that playoff game. Comes back with a lot of revenge, wants to get back to that spot, and they very well could, especially with UNLV and their coaches change. I'm curious to see what we get from Spencer Danielson. I tried to fade him last year going into his first real year, and he lived up to the hype. So we'll see what he can do with this Broncos team this year. But stay off for me. If anything, it would be a lean to the over and kind of getting points from both sides. But I'm just going to watch this one now that we missed the best of the number.
We'll see if there's in-game scenarios that pop up here tonight. All right, let's just go up the road to Orlando next. The Bounce House, Scott Frost back at Central Florida. They'll take on Jacksonville State. This is a totally new look Gamecock team that won their conference a year ago, but the biggest thing, Rich Rod is now in Morgantown. So a totally new deal down there at Jacksonville State. The Central Florida quarterbacking situation is one of the more confusing ones in college football. Cam Fancher looks like he's going to be the one who gets the start tonight. Now, I think he's the third best quarterback on the roster personally, with Ja'Cory Brown, who we saw last year, and then Tavon Jackson, who we saw in Indiana. Don't be surprised if you see everybody tonight. Don't be surprised if you see all three. It's 20.5 with the Knights, total of 53. I'm just going to steer clear. I just want to see how this quarterback situation down in Orlando ends up playing itself out here, Alex.
No, I'm with you. This is a definite stay off for me. I think those numbers are correct there too. And I definitely had him 3. So I thought it'd be between the other 2 for quarterback. I'm really curious to see what we get with their defense, too. Alex Grinch comes over to be the DC, and we know that did not go well in Southern California. So we'll see how he does getting another shot here. And then Jacksonville, yeah, it is a shame because they were looking really good under Rich Rod. They should still be okay defensive front, but it's a lot of turnover for them. So it's going to be a tough uphill battle.
Charles Kelly, now the head coach for Jacksonville State. This is Kelly's first head coaching job. He's bounced around, was the defensive coordinator of the Florida State championship team over a decade ago now. All right, up next, let's go to Akron and Wyoming. This is a bizarre one, isn't it? Wyoming on the road here, and it's been all action on Akron and Joe Moorhead's squad here from 7.5 to 5.5. 50-48. Alex, help me out here. I don't know what to do. I thought, all right, you know what? Maybe north of 7, you could take a shot on the Zips, but now I'd almost look the other direction. If you took the 7.5, I'd almost try to middle this thing and get it to land 6 or 7 here tonight, Alex. But I'll steer clear with having no action previously on this game.
Yeah, I really have nothing either, and I promise we will have takes tomorrow for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday's games. But this Thursday was a little tough to find. I did find an interesting thing, though. These two actually met. Sable was a defensive coordinator at Minnesota and Moorhead, offensive coordinator at Penn State, 2016. So now both head coaches at these stops and meet in the preseason here. I do think we'll get an upside from Wyoming offensively, who definitely struggled last year, but Caden Anderson is 3rd year now. They're going to bulk up the run game. So I don't want to jump in. I think the market's gone a little too crazy. If anything, I'd lean to Wyoming now under 7.
The one thing I will say, the one concern I have with Wyoming's football program moving forward is that Craig Bull was so damn good at his job. That is a very hard place to recruit to. That is a very hard, there's not a lot of NIL money either. And Bull was in a bowl game basically every year. And he retires, and Sauvel, who's basically his underling, they were horrible last year. Their offense was horrible. Their defense struggled. Just everything about that program last year, they looked like Wyoming before Bull got there. And that worries me moving forward. Now, granted, it's Akron, even though I like Joe Moorhead. But boy, really concerned with how that looked a year ago up in Laramie after losing a guy who, quite frankly, and Craig Bolt deserves to be in the College Football Hall of Fame when it's all said and done. Obviously, you have his success in North Dakota State before going to Wyoming as well.
I will just say Akron, though, I mean, we talk about it all the time with these lower schools, but they definitely got hit hard from the portal. The defense is going to be completely new. On the offensive side, they do have Finley back, Ben Finley, that is, and played 12 games for them, but completed 55% of his passes, 16-9 touchdown interception ratio. So, yeah, I am just leaning that it's gotten a little out of control. We'll see, though, how Wyoming does and the turnaround. Just 3 wins last year.
One other note on Akron, too, and this is probably better for later in the season, not early in the season. They're ineligible for a bowl game. They're the first team since 2014 to be ruled eligible because of their APR. That's the academic progress rate, which is, in this day and age, is almost impossible to not hit that number. And Akron is ineligible this year for a bowl because of that. Now, if they get the 6 wins, that's a hell of an accomplishment for Moorhead, who, again, slow build. He inherited not quite a Kent State current situation, but pretty darn close there in Akron. All right, we'll keep it with a MAC team. On the road at Rutgers tonight is Ohio U. Parker Navarro returns. Looked at as the best player in the MAC going into this year, even though maybe DeQuan Finn, who we'll get to in a little bit, may have something to say about that if he's healthy again. Rutgers, again, their best player a year ago, Kyle Monangai, is now a Chicago Bear. This feels like a lot of points to be getting with Ohio at 15.5, an Ohio U team that I think will be neck and neck with Toledo for that conference championship this year. But I am always concerned early in the year when these MAC teams play the Big Ten teams. It goes one of two ways. Either it is a game all the way through and it is a one-score game where the Big Ten team doesn't take them seriously, or the Big Ten team just whips them. And that's the case in both of these games tonight, where it feels like a lot of points to be getting, but there is just a concern of, hey, all this transfer portal motion that is happening at every team is happening to the extreme with Ohio, where it's hard to reload with losing your best players, but they didn't lose Parker Navarro, so that's a good sign for OU.
And I'm with you. I definitely think he is one of the best quarterbacks in this conference, and followed him a lot last year through the MACtion in the weekdays. If anything, I'd play this over, and I know that it has been bet up, but with that being said and him returning, I mean, this Ohio team, they were 37th in the country in points last year, and then on the flip side with Rutgers, I mean, they were 72nd in opponent points per game. So defense, made a few moves, brought in a few guys, but I don't think they're going to improve that much. I think we're going to get points from both sides here, to be honest. Rutgers 9-4 to the over last year. So yep. I think that continues here today.
Wouldn't shock me. Again, another year for Schiano where the win total's right on either 5.5 or 6. Just pretty much pencil them in for 5 wins every single year. But feels like a ton of points here today at 15.5. All right, now let's go to Kansas City. This is the only power conference matchup between two power conference teams tonight. Nebraska, Cincinnati at Arrowhead Stadium. Yes, it's a Cincy home game technically, but it's going to be Nebraska red, not Cincinnati red here tonight. I like both of these quarterbacks. Obviously, Raiola came in with insane expectations a year ago. There was a lot of bad, but look, here's an 18-year-old kid playing right away. It's going to happen. You have to expect with the whole offseason of Dana Holgerson's tutelage, which might have been the most important offensive coordinator hire in the Big Ten this year, I expect him to improve. I like Sorsby, QB at Cincinnati, but I don't like, as we know, Scott Satterfield is one of the worst coaches in the Power Four for me. Alex, if this was 6, I would lay it with Nebraska. Don't love laying the hook. Also kind of like this game. I'm opposite of Bruce. Kind of like this game over. I'll go with what Colby said yesterday, that there are a lot of questions on both of these defenses coming in. Sorsby, we know, is a good quarterback. Raiola is only going to get better. I actually would look to the over if you can get a flat 51, that there may be 1 or 2 of those still available here, even though the market's playing it over now.
See, we're oppo on this, because if I could get a 7, I would definitely be taking the points here with Cincinnati and them keeping it close. And that is no reason where I've heard a lot of people say, well, it's just so Nebraska to come in and lose this game. That did not come into my handicap. It's really just because I have it 4.5, and I think that there's a little bit of value there, but I don't want them to lose by 7 here and lose from the hook. So I'm not going to jump in. I don't really have a take on the total either. I really think that is right there at the right number, 51.5.
I'll just say this with Nebraska. When we talked about Nebraska a lot this offseason, they have one of the softer schedules you will ever see for a Big Ten team. Got very fortunate with their draws in the Big Ten where, yeah, they got to go to Happy Valley, but you know what? The fact that they only have one brutal road game is pretty darn good. If you come out and lose this game tonight to a team in the Big 12 that I think is going to be in the bottom 4 of that conference, boy, you're going to have a fan base that is unapproachable for a few weeks. And you know what? You better get your act together, because you can see Michigan in 2 weeks as well in a game that Sharon Moore, more likely than not, will be taking his suspension in as well. So
I do have them bottom 5, so I'm right there with you, and that is them very close to West Virginia, but who knows what Rich Rodriguez is capable of in the first year. Could have him above Cincinnati. But to your point with the offenses, Jeff, and Cincinnati's in particular, they do return 62% on offense. They have good running backs. Tight end, who broke Kelsey's receptions in a single season, returns and use the portal for O-line and receivers. So Yeah. Even though my number's right there, I don't hate the lean to the over.
Let's go to Minnesota next. This is another Maction Big Ten game. And this is the one, even though it's interesting, this Buffalo team is very intriguing. If you're looking for a dark horse in the MAC, they're the one to look at. But this is the type of game where PJ Fleck has his team ready. Now, of course, you have a different quarterback now in Minnesota. Max Brosmer actually made the Minnesota Vikings, which was quite the shock to me. But Drake Lindsay, now your starting quarterback, the young gun for Minnesota. So I have a little bit of concerns, at least early in the season, offensively speaking. But Fleck is a guy that I trust in these type of circumstances against these lesser division teams.
And last year was definitely Fleck's best defense with their DC there in Heatherman. Bulk of the starters do return. Lindsay was the backup for Brosmer last year, so should know the system, should be ready to go. On the other side, though, with Buffalo and the intrigue is really Pete Lembo was hired with very short notice, right? And ended up having a great year, 6-2 in conference, 9-4 overall. So we'll see what he can do with his second year there. You said that Robertson, for the quarterback for them, comes over from K-State, was Avery Johnson's backup. So we'll see. Kind of some big expectations and, I don't know, high ceiling, I guess I would say, here for Buffalo.
You know, I'll just say this with the Gophers, who they scream 7-5, 8-4 most years, and this is kind of the same deal for Fleck and company. And you know, I'll just say this: this is again a Big 12 where the middle, or excuse me, a Big 10, I should say, where the middle feel. If you told me the middle is weaker than it's been, I would listen to it. If you told me the middle ends up being as strong as it's been in a while in the Big 10, I'd listen to it. But Minnesota, Indiana, Illinois, UCLA, USC, Washington, like those are the teams that are going to tell the story. Nebraska are going to tell the story of how good the middle of this league is. I still think Michigan is clearly the fourth best team, even though they may not end up with the fourth best record. But boy, the way these schedules break down in these mega conferences, you can end up with some weird stuff in the tiebreakers, as we talked about with Colby yesterday. All right, one last one. A team I have no expectations on, and I think it could be lights out for Fickle if they go under their win total of 5.5 here this year. And with one of the tougher schedules in the league this year is Wisconsin. 18, Bruce Marshall like Miami of Ohio. I'm with Bruce. It's just a matter of, can you get enough offense out of Miami of Ohio here tonight to stay in this game? If Wisconsin gets to the 30s, it's going to be hard to cover this game with Miami here tonight.
It's funny because a light bulb just went off when he was talking, and I knew that Finn was at Baylor and that Sorensen won the job after he was injured and stepped in, but I didn't put it all together of how good he was at Toledo, and that's why he got paid to go to Baylor. Now comes back, and I just think he wasn't ready for the Big 12, but will be really good here for Miami, Ohio. How he does against Wisconsin, we'll see. I mean, he did play a couple games there for Baylor, so he is used to those defenses. On the other side, I'm not so down on Wisconsin. I think that they will be right there with the middle of the pack. Like you were saying with the Minnesota and Washington, Nebraska. Interested to see what we get from Grimes coming in as the OC, because it definitely didn't work out there with them trying to change it up, and now they're going more pro-style downhill rushing offense. They do return a lot of offense. And, of course, you mentioned it, Billy Edwards comes over from Maryland. So we'll see how it all works out. But I got to imagine they still have their pretty solid defense here for the Badgers.
Yeah, the magic number for a Miami of Ohio cover tonight is 17. If they get to 17 points, it's going to be really hard for us not to cover if we take Miami. Because even 35-17, we're pushing. So it could be hard to lose if Miami of Ohio gets to 17. And if they get to 17 and we lose, then you know what? Maybe Billy Edwards is a little bit better than we think for Wisconsin.
And that's why I actually have this total much higher than 41. So that was a look for me as the over. And if we think that Miami, Ohio can keep it close and that Wisconsin can put some points on the board, I don't hate over 41. That actually might be the way I played instead. But I don't hate, all of these MAC teams that we just talked about against the Big Ten, I really don't hate them with the points.
Again, Chuck Martin's a good coach. We've known that. He's been there forever there in Oxford. All right, before we take a break, we have our college football brackets because we're going to unveil these today because, again, actually, I have a team that's in my college football playoff playing here today, and it's one that's very much off the beaten path, would be the highest odds by far. And I'll go first. The 4 teams that I have getting the bye, I have Georgia's the 1 seed. I have Georgia winning the SEC, actually going undefeated through the season. And if any SEC team goes 13-0, they're getting the 1 seed. It's just going to be how it works. I have Clemson also undefeated, going as the 2 seed. Just you lose out to Georgia. 3, Penn State winning the Big Ten. Only loss will come to Ohio State in Columbus. They'll get revenge in Indianapolis to win the Big Ten. They get the 3. Notre Dame, I actually have 12-0, but behind 12-1 Penn State. I think Notre Dame gets hurt by their schedule, even though they play a playoff team and Texas A&M. I think a 12-1 Penn State would get the nod for the higher seed over an undefeated Notre Dame. Matchup on the left, 5 seed Ohio State plays 12 Boise. I was looking for every reason not to put Boise in as my G5 representative. I just couldn't get there with any of the American athletic teams. There's no one particularly close in the Mountain West. And you really think the committee's going to put Louisiana in from the Sun Belt? Just don't see it. So Boise at 11-1, even though I think they're going to struggle tonight, I do think they'll win. They lose at Notre Dame, that's enough. Or 12-1 with a Mountain West title. 6-11 matchup. I have Oregon going 11-1. They get the 6 seed, and then the surprise one. Now, the 11 seed, if it's not Missouri, will be Texas A&M. They play each other in Columbia in late October. And I have Missouri winning that game. And Missouri has 8 home games. I have them going 10-2 with losses to Alabama, have them with losses to Auburn and Alabama. Yeah, I had that right. And that was enough because I have Alabama still with 3 losses. And I think they'll give the edge to a 10-2 team over a 9-3. They'll still go with the record when it's all said and done. So I put Missouri in as the 11. That is the one that is the big bomber price I gave out last week on Football Frenzy. 7-10, LSU gets in. They play Big Ten champion Utah in Death Valley. The winner that will play Clemson. And then Texas and Miami. Arch Manning, Carson Beck. Boy, regardless of who wins that game, what a juicy matchup you'll get against Georgia in the quarterfinal. Either Beck against his former team or Texas and Georgia for the second time this year. So a lot of fun for my bracket. I do inevitably have Penn State winning the national championship, as I've said multiple times here on the show, Alex.
Yes, you have. Very good. You went in depth. You have records and everything. I didn't go quite that in depth. I do have the conference winners and the place seed as best as I could without having the official records and going through the whole thing. But I can't find my folder. So, Ryan, I'm going to need the graphic to kind of go on. There it is. Okay, very good. So we're starting off number 1. I do have Clemson going undefeated throughout the season and winning the ACC, so they get the 1 seed. I do have Penn State, similar to you, losing to Ohio State in the regular season, getting revenge in the Big Ten championship with the 2 seed there. Texas A&M, I actually have them beating Notre Dame throughout the regular season, and then I have them beating Texas the last game of the year, beating Texas again in the SEC championship. That is why Texas comes in with the 4 seed, because they will have a very strong record besides that loss. Coming in at number 5 would be Ohio State with the 1 loss to Penn State. 6 would be Georgia. We went over their schedule. 3 road games, really. I mean, they have a pretty easy schedule, so I think they do get into the playoffs here. Oregon, I couldn't do it. I kind of flirted with it, but I can't keep them out. I do think that they will get into the playoffs. I actually just have them 1 loss, but losing to Penn State, so they don't make the Big Ten championship and then kind of sneak in like Ohio State did last year. 8, where is my 8 up there?
Miami, yeah.
Miami, Ohio, yes. I have them winning this weekend up against Notre Dame, and then just losing to Clemson in the championship there. 9 is got to be Did I skip Notre Dame? No, 10 is Notre Dame, so 9 has got to be LSU.
Baylor.
Baylor's number 9 there, and that is because they are the Big 12 champion. Thank you, everybody. 10, I do have LSU. So that leaves out Alabama, but they do have a head-to-head this season and have them winning. And then I have Notre Dame and Boise State, same as you. Can't find a reason to keep Boise out, especially with the downgrade that we're seeing from the Rebels. I do think that they will win the Mountain West and then be the top G5 team again.
Those are our brackets. A lot of similar teams. Really, the only differences that we have are the Big 12 champ, which Baylor I have losing to Utah in the Big 12 championship game, so was very close there. Sawyer Robertson's the best quarterback in that league. And then I have Missouri, U of A&M. Our seeding is different, but we pretty much end up landing on 10 of 12, which is awfully surprising, in all honesty, that we landed on similar teams like that.
And I will just say, because last week on the show, I actually said ASU plus 600, 6-1 to win. I do have them making it there,
but losing.
So it was more of like a hedge and a value thing. And why I will play a little bit on that as well, but got to find a good Baylor number.
All right, there we go. Yep. Those are the college football playoff brackets for us. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, trivia question, whiteboard, and rapid fire baseball when we get back. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. Bingo! And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day. The friendly ticket writers are happy to help, and it's conveniently located next to the famous Del Mar Deli, where you'll find supersized portions of delicious deli items like roast beef, pastrami, and Reuben sandwiches, or soups, salads, and pizza. Plus spectacular desserts fit for a king. And right next door is the race book. Over 150 seats, each with its own TV screen. There are 16 interactive player terminals, so you can bet right from your seat.
We're back in Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. We're going to wrap things up here. Of course, Gone Racing comes your way later today here at the studio. Let's quickly go through baseball. Let's start in Milwaukee in a game that's going to start momentarily, actually. Brewers and Diamondbacks. That's really been a wild series so far, actually, between the Crew and the D-backs. Milwaukee falls yesterday 3-2. Diamondbacks able to let that run in the 8th inning stand up. So Brewers still going for the series win today. Quintana's minus 150 and a total of 9 in game 4 of this series, Alex.
A little bit of lean to the Brewers here at minus 150. I think they should be closer to $1.75 at home, and the way they've been playing. Quintana has been pretty good for them. So, yeah, that's the only way I'd play it. I don't love the price. I usually try to stay under that 150 mark for my baseball favorites. But so that's a lean there to the Brewers.
Let's go to San Francisco next. Sorry, Pirate and Cardinal fans. We have nothing on that game here today. But we go to San Francisco next. The Giants look to sweep the Cubs, and boy, I apologize, Cubs fans, for putting the jinx on them when I said they were alive to win the division again, and then they've fallen back into the mediocrity they did before that weekend in Anaheim. It's basically a pick. Webb's a small favorite. Total 7 here at Oracle here, Alex.
Well, you know what I'm going to say, right?
Under.
Unders. I do like the under. I don't like the time of the day. I mean, it's 12:45 our time, West Coast time, and I feel like those day games have been kind of rough for me. San Francisco. I like the Cubs again. I think that price is too low, but I'm not going back for a third day. So they would be Cubs or pass. if you have it to bet, but I'm going to pass.
All right, next up, we continue on here. Short card here, thankfully for us. Phillies, who just got swept in New York, now return home. I think they're very happy to not be at Citi Field anymore. Now have lost 10 straight against the Mets in that park. -80 on Aaron Nola, +160 on Cal Quantrill. We're not back in the mid-2000s with his dad. 9.5 is your total. If it was anyone but Quantrill, I actually would be on Atlanta here today, but Quantrill has just been brutal in his multiple stops here this year, Alex.
Well, and I think some other people agreed with you because I did see -190 narrowed down to -180. I do agree with that. I think the Phillies should be closer to -165, so I understand that move, but I'm not going to jump in. I like what I saw from Aaron Nola in his last start. Went 6 innings against Washington, just 2 earned runs, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk. So I like to see him do that again before jumping in and betting on the Phillies.
Let's go to New York next. Mets, again, with the sweep of the Phillies. They're the closest they've been in 3 weeks in the division, 4 behind Philadelphia. Now with the season tiebreaker clinched as well with that sweep over Philadelphia. Again, they still would need to get themselves tied. Phillies still have the second largest division lead in the National League. It's Clay Holmes who's been much better his last 2 starts, actually giving a little bit of length his last 2 times out as well. He's a huge favorite, though, -250 against Mazur tonight for Miami, +210 on the Fish, and a total of 9.
To your point, Jeff, 11 1/3 innings pitched in his last 2 and just 3 earned runs. So love to see it there for them. I guess the only way you'd want to play it is Mets over, right? Because, I mean, on the other side with Mazur, I mean, his median number is 4 earned runs in 5 innings pitched. So, yeah, that's the only way I'd want to back the Mets here. Can't really get there laying that big price, but look for the team total over.
Mets offense has been the best in baseball over the last 2 weeks, leading in runs, OPS, extra base hits, and also they're hitting with runners in scoring position, which is something they haven't done all year. All right, let's go to the south side of Chicago. Yankees and White Sox. Yankees just obliterated the Nats for 3 straight games, doing exactly what you should against a bad team at home. Now they play the American League's worst. Yankees entering today still only a half game behind Boston, so that race for the top wild card is still very much in play. Also, the Mariners won yesterday, so everybody won in that race. Warren's -90. Actually, if anything, this might be a little bit cheap on the Yankees here tonight, even though Martin hasn't been a complete pushover this year for the White Sox.
No, but you're right. It is, this time of the year does get tough, right? When you have the high-end teams playing the teams that are bottom and just completely out of it, and you got these huge prices. I mean, I don't disagree, though. I do think maybe a little run line here with the Yankees is the best way to play it. Get a cheaper price at -125, because I do think the Yankees should be at least $2 here. And
then the last one up, the Astros. Still a game and a half clear of Seattle for the top of the AL West. They're 3 games behind. Boy, what happened to the Tigers in Sacramento this week? Just got swept. And A.J. Hinch was as pissed as you'll ever see a manager after the game last night and how poorly his team played. But Houston's still 3.5 behind the Tigers for that second slot in the American League. Jason Alexander, Kyle Freeland. Boy, Jason Alexander is a -240 favorite. It's kind of nuts, but it is the Rockies, though, as we know.
Yeah, I know. And, I mean, he is definitely the lowest rated starting pitcher for the Astros there, but I think the price is close to being correct. I'm not going to do anything. Lean to the over. I think if both offenses can get going, we could see a lot of runs here against Freeland and Alexander.
All right. That's the baseball card here for today. We'll get Alex's whiteboard in a moment here. But we can get the trivia question and answer of the day here today. And we go with a Cubs-related question. How about that? That's good. All right. On this date in 1990, Hall of Famer Ryan Sandberg became the first second baseman to hit 30 home runs in consecutive seasons. How many total home runs did Sandberg hit in each of the 89 and 90 seasons? Do we do we technically get a little bit of a variant in the answer here that we're still taking, Vince? All right, very good. So Rhino, of course, one of the best ever put on a Cubs jersey, hit 30 in 89 and 40 in 90. That equals 70. Of course, Sandberg won an MVP in 84, in a magical year for the Cubs. Of course, the Sandberg game was what put him on the map. Rhino, as we know. So Nick gave us the total of home runs between the two seasons of 70, which we will honor. So Nick extends his victory here in the month of August. Of course, he's already clinched here over JR here in the month of August here today with getting it correct. Of 70 total homers, 40 in 89 and 40 in 90. All right. Before we get out of here, we've gone racing, having the studio next, the whiteboard here for a Thursday morning with Alex White.
I have a feeling JR was busy. He does manage Sportsbook Wire. Give them a follow, please, on social media and check out their website because they have daily picks all the time. Sportsbook Wire. So he's probably working on that for football stuff. One play for you today. It is the biggest difference from my number. So that is why I'm going to jump in here on Miami, Ohio, and Wisconsin over the total of 41. I think we're going to see some points here from both sides. So 41, pretty good number, all things considered, when you see some of these other totals this first week.
Yeah, only would be a look at the two Maction schools for me today. Miami of Ohio getting the 18, like Bruce Marshall said, and then plus 15.5 at Ohio. But again, tread carefully, very carefully with taking points when it's MAC versus Big Ten. Boy, but I do not like Wisconsin or Rutgers going into the year. I have them both finishing under 500, which probably means Luke Fickell's getting fired if Wisconsin goes under 500 yet again up in Madison. All right, that's what we got for you. We're back tomorrow, 2 shows, 10 a.m. Our regular show gets you ready for the day in action. And then at noon, it's Football Frenzy for the whole weekend. Getting you ready for week 1 of college football. Myself, Alex White, Chris Andrews, Vinny Malleula will be with us at noon. So 10 a.m. Pacific, noon Pacific tomorrow for the 2 shows. We'll see you again tomorrow. She's Alex. I'm Jeff. This has been Sports by the Book here at South Point Studio.
We had a poll. I think we have a result in.
All right. The poll, which team went from 5,000 to 1 to 100 to 1 within the last week at the South Point, was not Hawaii. It was UAB who moved that in. That's bizarre. That doesn't make any sense. Why are we betting the Blazers? All right. That was the poll answer question. We'll see you tomorrow. Sports by the Book here at the South Point Studio.